Lucky you!
Best 36 holes in golf.
You tuned in to Alternate Shots Podcast,
Arnie's Army.
where we talk about golf,
Barkeys, Sandy's,
poker,
Bond, James Bond.
horse racing,
I'm all in.
great movies.
Alfred Hitchcock.
We have no script.
And down the stretch they come.
We're glad you joined us.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Whoop. Let's start again.
What I expect the kids to learn, that we're all equal. We're all children of God, and there's no difference between one religion to another religion. We gotta respect each other and work for a better tomorrow, because there's no reason to hate a certain people because of their religion. We are better than that.
We go to the breakers and we may have a drink. We may go to the shop around a little bit. We just may take a walk around, and then we go down to Worth Avenue onto Meisner, one of those little strips off of Worth Avenue, to Renato's. Renato's is the best Italian restaurant that I've been to in Florida.
The game feels more culturally relevant at this moment than I've ever known. I can only guess that golf in 2023 feels like golf must have felt in the late 60s when Arnie was making the game come alive on color TV for the first time. But like right now, golf is just, it's the thing.
I wish to congratulate my fellow inductees, Tim Fincham, Marion Hollins, and Tiger Woods, on this very special occasion. We are all here enshrined together for our sport's greatest honor. Tiger, I know it's hard for you to believe, but as young as I am, I won all my tournaments before you were born. And by the way, Tiger, of my 3 US Opens, the total winnings was $16,000. I was wondering if you'd like to swap checks. Perhaps, if not all, we could do one. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it would look like. I actually played 2 holes on Christmas Day in about 15-degree weather, just to make sure that we're still playing year round.
My first lesson at Winged Foot. This is a funny story because I was standing in the shop. It was April, but it was snowing. It was really cold. You know me, I don't like the cold weather. And I'm in the shop, and Mr. Forsman comes in. You remember Paul Forsman?
Sure.
He comes in and he said, I heard that we hired a new assistant professional. And I said, that's me. I'm Alicia Dibos, nice to meet you. And he goes, are you ready to give a lesson? And I said, Mr. Forsman, it's snowing outside. And he goes, don't you have a jacket? I said, yes, I do. So I gave my first lesson to Mr. Forsman on the range, and I was freezing. It was so cold. It was so nice, and we became the best friends.
And the real money was in parking cars. And yeah, you could caddy and you could be out there for hours making money in contacts, but that was the part that I really liked. So 62
was the real money in the glove compartment of the cars or in the tips?
Don't get me started, huh? There were some shady characters. We had to lock those cars.
Yeah, I bet.
Did you ever have any cars stolen under your watch?
We always had to be careful with the doctor's cars. Let's just say that.
Just to clarify something, that story you told about Sal and Mr. Shields and Mr. Hartnett, you said they went into the shower together. I just want to clarify that. They didn't go
at
into
the same time.
shower. They went separate showers. They just went into the room together, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And the Cubans, oh,
I like the Cubans. They are so wild.
It's not fair to compare Donald Ross to a Tillinghast or a Siway to Wingfoot, but would you be willing to stake 10 of the best putters at Siway against 10 putters from Wingfoot? Play a course somewhere, a few holes at Siway and a few holes at Wingfoot, and see who comes up the winner?
If the Siway guys were allowed to drink before the tournament, I would.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The best with Gene was so you know, he was tough. You're right. You know, he didn't have that sense of humor. So when I found out was, you know, when I was 9 years old, 10 years old, and I'm first starting, he would go on Sunday Mass to St. Gregory's. And I knew that 7 o'clock Mass, he'd have communion, and then he'd leave to get up to Wingfoot by 7:30. And St. Gregory's was always known for, you know, real 15-minute Mass. Yeah. So my father, didn't have to be up there early for the tournaments back then. And I would go and sit behind Gene at Mass. And then I did, Gene, you think you can give me a ride up to Wingfoot? He just loved it. I'd be the first one out every day.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Work in the room.
Yeah, I worked at church.
I used to go out and play at night. I said, "Oh, you go play last night, Junior?" And I'd say, "Yeah." And he'd be like, "What'd you hit into 18?" He meant 18 West. And I said, "Oh, I hit a 6-iron at 175 yards." And he'd be like, "Bobby Jones flipped a little sandwich in there from 70 yards, 1929 with a gutta percha ball." It's like, "You're nothing, Junior."
When my dad first started caddying, he introduced himself to Gene, and he said, "I'm Pat Collins." He goes, "Collins? You bet you have a brother named Tom Collins." And he goes, "Hey, Tommy, knows you."
The king called Tommy Armour.
Which king, by the way?
You got the king of Morocco calling Tommy Armour. And he said, "Mr. Armour," or as he would have said, "Monsieur Armour, I'd like you to come to Morocco and teach me how to play golf." And Tommy Armour declined and said, "The guy you need is Claude Harmon." And that's how Claude got that job. Well, it was a great referral until there was the generals of the army under the king revolted when Claude was there, and he got the bejesus beat out of him. The revolt was put down, but Claude Harmon came back. I mean, he had nothing. He was black and blue from his ankles to his chest.
Oh, I mean, he was roughed up,
getting beat up with rifle butts. So when you think that when the king of Morocco calls, that you, boy, man, this is payday. Well, it's not always payday.
Strange it may seem, they give ball players nowadays very peculiar names.
Funny names?
Nicknames, pet names.
Not as funny as my name, Sebastian Dinwiddie.
Oh, yes.
Funnier than that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Now, on the St. Louis team, we have who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
That's what I want to find out. I want you to tell me the names of the fellas on the St. Louis team.
I'm telling you, who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
You know the fellas' names?
Yes.
Well, then who's playing first?
Yes.
I mean the fellow's name on first base.
Who?
The fellow playing first base for St. Louis.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who is on first?
Well, what are you asking me for?
Dad was watching Dick give Lanny a lesson, and Dick said it was the most nervous he's ever been because usually it was we were watching Dad give a good player lesson. He said Dad sat there for 2 or 3 hours, never said a word, which he thought was nice. My dad turned to Lanny and he said, "You know, I only have 2 things to tell you." And Lanny kind of perked up and he said, "First thing I do is make sure I get my clubs and myself to the tee on time. And the second thing I would do is I'd change my route to the bank every Monday so you don't get robbed." But what I'm really curious about is why are you taking lessons from Dick? He said, "Because your ball comes out like it's delivered from a Remington rifle, and Dick's ball comes out like it's delivered by a seed gun going 360 degrees all over the course." So it took Dad about 3 hours to get the harpoon into Dick.
So you wouldn't care if all your members threw a few clubs down there?
No, they would go get them.
So your dad, and what do you feel it in your legs?
I feel it in I went to my right leg, and now if I got through this head, like this head was going to come off, I'm going to throw this club head. I'm going to throw this club.
The West course is my favorite golf course in the world.
The West is just a big drink of water, so they're just, I mean, holy smokes. I mean, the greatest 36 holes in golf.
Well, they're conversations that you can't really have at most clubs in the country, because they just don't have the wisdom and the insight, the respect for the game, the understanding of the game, and that passion that just the second you walk in there, it's unique. I just love the place. I really do. I think it is a storied facility that has two great golf courses that we all know that the West gets all the accolades and the East is sort of the forgotten one. But the fun part is when you talk to anybody that plays there on a regular basis, they prefer playing the East over the West.
Winged Foot's a golf club first. And the way that people gather at Winged Foot is different than most places you go. And you hear that all the time. If you bring friends up to Winged Foot, even people who have been there, that moment when they're in the grill room and it's, you finish playing, let's say at 4 o'clock and it's now 6 o'clock and everybody's laughing, having a great time. We're like, oh my God, I never want to leave here.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Why would you want to leave?
I was there
if
for
it's the right time of year at 6 o'clock, you might be going back out for an emergency 9.
Exactly.
Well, that's what we strive for. I mean, we know that we're a facility that is preparing for a member guest every day because there's somebody that's bringing a guest that wants to get the Winged Foot experience. I mean, it's Winged Foot, right? I mean, it's the best 36 holes in golf.
I think that sums that up.
You know what? When I walk at Winged Foot, and I walk a lot on the course, and I feel privileged to walk on the grass that every great player that's ever played the game has walked on.
In 1929, the Yankees were the greatest team in the history of baseball. They had been unbeatable in 27 and 28. They start the season, Babe Ruth's not playing up to his standards, still the best player, but not to his standards. And then he goes AWOL. He just disappears, and the newspapers track him. And in theory, he's sick. He's too ill to play baseball. But in fact, he's playing a lot of golf, including at Winged Foot. He played 54 holes here on the Tuesday before the Open. And then Ruth comes here to the U.S. Open on Friday when he's got a day off, follows Bobby Jones around inside the ropes, smoking a cigar. And then on the Saturday, goes down to Philadelphia to play a game against the Athletics, and Lefty Grove, perhaps the greatest pitcher of his era, and Ruth hits 2 homers off him. And the Sunday paper's headline says, Jones-Espinosa tie, Ruth hits 2 homers, beats A's.
He loved hitting golf balls. I don't think he felt like he ever lost his talent for doing it. If you'll remember, he did a commercial one time. They went out to Riviera and they got on the 4th tee, which is a par 3, to shoot this shot. He was wearing a yellow sweater and gray slacks, and then obviously his traditional white hat. He hit 3 balls, Hank said. He bladed the first one, and he said he hit the second one fat, and it was with a 3-iron. And he looked over and he said, okay, roll the cameras, I'm ready. Then he hit the 3rd one dead flush and got it. And Hank said they thought they'd be there all day. He said he hit that ball, got back in the cart, and went back to the clubhouse. He said, is that one the one you wanted? And they go like, well, absolutely. I mean, you just made a perfect swing.
Deacon had called my father and said, listen, my kid's down there at the Coast Guard, and he's going through 3 months of training. Is there any way we can find him a place to hit some balls? And my father said, of course, he can come to Atlantic City. It's about a half an hour away. He said, I'll have him call you, but it won't be for a month. A month later, Palmer called and said, Mr. Fraser, I appreciate if I could come up. My father said I could come up to Atlantic City Country Club and hit some balls, but I have a problem. Obviously, I don't have a car. I'll take a bus. He says, no, you won't. Forget the bus. I'll come and get you.
This is the Belmont, the 3rd leg of the Triple Crown, right?
And we're on the poker table too, by the way.
Oh, yes.
You're touching all the bases, boys.
We're on the poker table. You can see the poker table, but we
Horses,
won't do everything.
poker. Been following the horses as long as I've known him. I think he caught the habit from his father, as did I. And I don't know how many Belmont Stakes we've been to together. We'll go to this one again. Probably 10 or 12 of them, including the day my youngest daughter was born, much to the chagrin of Chris's mom, who looked at me like, what the hell's the matter with you? But it was the Belmont. That was the year of Lemon Drop Kid.
Your mother had a few children. Did your father have the occasion of being at a track when one of you, or when she was in labor? This
Well,
could have happened by accident.
No, but I will say this.
Maybe it was you.
I will say this. My dad used to go to the Derby every year, and there was a lot of first communions on the first Saturday in May that he missed.
I suppose he can be okayed for that. But he never missed a berth because of
no, he never.
$2.
He might have missed one on a scouting trip, but way back when.
Well, that's work.
I wonder if it ever crossed his mind to maybe switch to Lutheran or something.
Well,
we had one service, and you can miss a lot.
I know one thing: the rhythm method didn't work. We had 11 kids. So.
He's going to have to beat the number 2 horse, Arcangelo, who just won the Belmont Stakes at 1.5 miles for his 3rd straight victory. He's looking for his 4th straight victory. In my opinion, I think this might be the horse to beat. I'm not going to be alone in that.
Carsons Run is a real gentle teddy bear compared to Keen Ice. So there's different spectrums of horses. Let's talk about.
You've been around the block
Breeders'
a
Cup.
couple times, Steve. Who's got a better behind, Kim Kardashian or Carsons Run? Come on, I was looking at the back end of your horse. That's something.
Carsons Run's behind is all natural, Bob. All natural.
Yeah, but he might not make as much money with it as she does.
This is true.
Unlimited potential, Billy.
Yeah, that's right. He had it, huh?
We really want to hear from Jay, who's been in the golf business over 40 years and 28 years with Titleist, Billy. 28 years. That's like, what's that in podcast years? About 250 years?
And how long have I known you, Jay? And I maybe have gotten a free sleeve.
Bobby Collins told a story about me trying to hit the ball, open the face of the 5 wood and hit the ball on the green because I hit a really long drive. It was easy to hit a long drive because the turf was frozen. But I hit a really long drive and I thought I could get home, and I hit the tree and it dropped in the lake. And I started marching out in the lake, and he said, "What are you, crazy?" I said, "No, we're going out there." Well, he didn't know that I had done that previously. Following week when I hit the one and it hit the tree and dropped down. And that's when I walked out on the ice with him, and he thought I was nuts, but we survived. By the way, I was walking out. If you walk out on the ice, it creaks, and it scared the hell out of Bobby.
Yeah, he said when you hit that wedge, you heard the crackle sound. He said, "Oh, that's the end of it."
Yeah, please don't hit behind the ball.
That's right.
I actually met Hitchcock once.
Wow.
When I was a 19-year-old rookie coming out to California, I got set up at Universal through an alumni who was 10 years older than me, a fellow named Steve Bochco, who went on to create Hill Street Blues and NYPD Blue. And I think it was the first or second time I was there. And Alfred Hitchcock was shooting his last movie called Family Plot at Universal. Yeah, with Bruce Dern and Karen Black. And he would sit in the same booth every day in the corner. "Steve, I got to go say hello. It's Alfred Hitchcock." He said, "They say he doesn't like to be bothered." And I said, "Well, it's a once-in-a-lifetime deal. I'm going to go over and say something." And he was very gracious. I really liked him. It's kind of cool. One last Hitchcock story. Bel Air Country Club. And,
say that again. He lived where?
The 15th fairway of Bel Air Country Club in LA. And lived there forever. And when he died, this started happening. And I've seen it every time I've played there. As you go down the 15th fairway, there is a giant, I guess what we would call murder of crows hanging out in his yard and house.
There's one scene where he's chasing the bad guy.
Yep.
And he's on a motorcycle. He's riding over rooftops. This is James Bond chasing the bad guy, and he's got a headset on.
Yeah.
And M is kind of kibitzing.
Right.
And I'm like, leave the guy alone. It's James Bond. He's 150,000 and 0 in these situations, But she doesn't leave him alone. She says, take the shot. They end up shooting him.
I know the answer to my question, so I'm going to ask you. What's the toughest predicament that he got himself out of? I know the one.
Yeah. "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." That one I thought was a tough one, where he's strapped down with the laser beam going up the middle with.
You took it right out of my head. Where
Yeah.
he's on a table,
Yeah.
and the laser beam is on some sort of like roller, and it's coming toward
It's
right
cutting through
there.
it's cutting through the steel. And he's like, "Do you expect me to talk, Goldfinger?" "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." There would be no Birdman at Wingfoot if it weren't for the dead.
Well, actually, you could say you could turn it around and say, actually, I owe the Wingfoot membership a lot of gratitude, because without Wingfoot, I would have never gotten to any of those concerts. I would come in and out. I would work for like a week or two, and then in between tours, and boom, and then I was gone. And I got one last great story for you. So I'm caddying for Jerry Haas, who's Jay's younger brother, in the Open at Shinnecock, and Billy's caddying for Jay. Guy by the name of Lynn Strickler, who was a legend, was caddying for Curtis Strange. And we're playing a practice round, and Tom Watson joins us. Bruce Edwards is caddying for Tom Watson. So we go out, Watson just joins us, so Bruce stays back on the tee because Watson's still getting his act together. So we go out on the back nine, we're four caddying, and I just come off a Grateful Dead tour. And they look at me and they say, "We know you're holding, get it out, break it out." So I pull out a joint, we light it up in the practice round, and Lynn is kind of fumbling around, and he goes to Billy, "Billy, give me a cigarette." And Billy goes, what do you want a cigarette for? And he says, and he had a voice like Clint Eastwood. He said, "I don't want to have to tell Curtis he's got 138 to the front and have it come out Lebanese, so hand me a cigarette."
Here was Louise Suggs' quote about golf. "Golf is like a love affair. If you don't take it seriously, it's no fun. If you do take it seriously, it breaks your heart." So I think that's
good friend of Doug Smith. Number two, a dear friend with Neil, who I miss very much as well. And I want to start out by saying that I think the World Golf Hall of Fame should start putting in historians, and that the first person they should put in
I'm Douglas LaRue Smith, the official historian of a Wingfoot Golf Club. I've devoted much of my life to the history of Wingfoot in this clubhouse right here in this room.
because he set the bar for every golf historian to follow.
Play golf and meet the nicest people. I got lucky I found. My mother gave me a lot of great values and things, and my wife and the kids. I'm lucky. If you can treat them nicely, they're going to treat you back.
That's it.
I'm having a very good day.
Hey, Trot. Trot. Who you like in the first, huh? Who you like?
Like,
Come on, tell me. Come on, jeez. Trot, who you like? Come on, tell me. Number 4. The number 4.
whispering.
Nobody in his right mind bets the 4 horse. The force is a joke, Trotter.
Why are you laughing?
Well, at least we have the laugh to add at the end.
Right. We've gone from 12 handicaps at this to 19 handicaps in just a week.
That's what happened. Somebody changed my grip, and the next thing you know, I can't do the podcast anymore. I felt like I was in the first row of the first pew at church right during the sermon.
And your brother was poking
my
you.
My brother was making me laugh.
Thanks for joining us
Casper,
today.
Billy Harmon.
We really appreciate your
Double
feedback.
Indemnity.
And please subscribe to the
Two
show.
outer.
Hit them
Odd
hard
job.
and hit them off.
That's 36 holes.